Let's take a sip. Let's do our prep. I love that you start off just like that.
It's my kind of thing.
It is totally your kind of thing.
It's
And
my brand.
I'm gonna throw curveballs at you right from the beginning. Hey everybody, it is Conscious Medium Brandon Ross, and joining me is
astrologer and life coach Penny Dix. I couldn't remember what I was to start with, but that's who I am.
We were just talking about how many times a day we say Conscious Medium Brandon Ross. Astrologer and life coach Penny Dix, and it's so funny. So listen, I want to talk about something hard hitting right out of the gate. Do you have squirrels on Malta and in Gozo? Squirrels?
No.
I'm moving, because let me tell you about this little son of a bitch in my house that absolutely eats all the food. I'm gonna hold him up. Look at this little guy.
Oh, he's cute.
Is he? Because he's wanted. He's a dead man to me. Listen, I'm not talking about animal cruelty. I would never do that. But listen, when it becomes personal, all bets are off, right?
Right.
Listen, you don't turn into a mass murderer overnight. You have to select your first one, right? Well, this squirrel is going down because this guy is not only eating through my garbage cans, then he's mocking me. This is me yelling at him. Like I'm literally yelling at him, and he's doing this is him.
I'm not doing this.
Yeah, he's like basically flipping. He's flexing on me. He's flexing on. He's like, see this, I'm all meat, right? I got a cousin that'll eat him. But so that's another bonus for me to at least visit Gozo.
Yeah, you got to come over to Malta and Gozo.
I'm thinking I'm getting closer here. So how are you doing? How are we faring? I mean, we've got so much retrograde stuff going on.
Well, we're about to have a lot of retrograde stuff going on. I mean, thank goodness. Yeah. Thank goodness. Tomorrow, the 3rd of June, Mercury, our wonderful planet of communication, finally goes direct. But
zinger time.
Yes. It will be in its shadow until about the 18th, 19th of June.
Yeah.
So really, we're not out of the woods till mid-month. But it goes back into Gemini. I think it's on the 14th. So it's going to stay in Taurus, just hanging around in Taurus, squaring Saturn, trining Pluto for a while longer.
It's funny how, this Mercury retrograde, when we came into the year, I talked a lot about how the retrogrades are going to be in all air signs. And realistically, this is mostly Taurus. This is mostly earthbound, where when we have the Mercury retrograde later in the year, that will almost be 100% into Libra. Like there's a little bit of Virgo into that. But yeah, and even later on this month, we have Neptune going into retrograde. And I think that we've already got Pluto in retrograde. It's funny. I think that you're tapping into what a lot of people think Mercury retrograde, just the havoc that it could bring. Part of the reason why Mercury is so affects us is that it's a personal planet, and we speak every day. So it's in what we do every single day. How does it differ from the personal planets and then the interpersonal planets, and then the external planets, the non-personal, if you will? What's the difference when these guys go retrograde? I think this is a good way to help everybody explain it.
Planets like Mercury, like Mars, like Venus, I think they have more of a kind of immediate effect on our emotions, on us psychologically. So this Mercury retrograde, I think, I've noticed it. I don't always particularly notice Mercury retrogrades, but I'm really having a lot of kind of what I call shit technical stuff that is just kind of like difficult. And like when I try to plug the mic in tonight to enhance the sound, it just won't do what it's supposed to do. And I'm finding emails are going astray and things like that. It's just really interesting. And yet, of course, the positive side of a Mercury retrograde is that it does give us a chance to go over old ground and to look at situations, problems, thinking that maybe we need to have a second chance to not make rash decisions about, for example.
Yeah, and it's funny now with the Saturn retrograde. And it's funny, when I was doing my June monthly, which I've got to stay routine with it, that's my own stuff, right? And Saturn going retrograde, Capricorn, being ruled by Capricorn, this is a big time for Capricorn being the foundation of a lot of different things, right?
Mm.
And when Saturn goes retrograde, this is about, you might have been working really hard and not getting anywhere when it was direct. Now that it's in retrograde, you can go back and figure out what you've been doing wrong. And one of the things that I think a lot of people, again, just to get the anomaly out of the way, what a retrograde is that it literally is moving backwards in the sky from the perspective of Earth. And it doesn't go in reverse, but it's an optical illusion.
Yeah.
But the effect of what we have and what we do is that it could have pros and cons, just like everything. There's duality throughout, right? It is a very human thing. Duality is a very human thing where creator and God energy is oneness. Duality shows us that we need this weather pattern, if you will, in order to move. And with the opportunity of Saturn going retrograde, I mean, what's your take with the things? Again, it's a further out planet, but it still has this kind of bigger cosmic effect. I mean, what do you think this Saturn retrograde is going to bring out?
Saturn, of course, is going retrograde on Saturday the 4th. So that's just coming up in a couple of days' time. Now, I think it's a little bit like with the cosmic weather. When we get a bad storm, we don't actually expect it to come back. But when a planet like Saturn goes backwards, we're getting that storm again. Or we're getting an opportunity to perhaps this time go out and bring in the things that need to be protected from the storm. So you can look at it in quite a sort of, kind of worldly view, because it does give us, and depending, of course, where it falls in your particular chart, and of course, Saturn, as you say, rules Capricorn, so Capricorns are going to feel the energy of their ruling planet when it does go into retrograde. But of course, it's in Aquarius.
So it's going to bring a greater good.
Yes, I just said you were a Capricorn. You're not. You're a Pisces. What?
No.
Yeah, never mind.
I have a tattoo. You want to see it?
So,
I don't have a tattoo, but you'll look.
But I don't know why I thought you were Capricorn right at that moment. It was very weird.
Well, I'm connected with a lot of Capricorns, and it's funny. The Capricorn energy to me is really, as a Pisces and a Leo, that's just, I mean, I'm a bottle rocket. Like the Pisces sun, Leo rising. The best way I can describe it is a bottle rocket. I'm going to go in a direction. You're not going to sure which way I'm going to go. And then the Capricorn's like, all right, so basically I'm here to clean up, kind of a little bit, but that energy for me, how I think it's going to affect me has a lot to do with, what are the projects you started? What are the projects you got to finish? What are the things that are important to this? Oh, it's an Aquarius. There's something bigger going on, right? Like I've really gotten organized. And actually, I want everybody to take a look here because this is the last of my studio like this. I think it's really, I love this backdrop. This is a gift. I'm going to somehow incorporate it. And I'm going to use it with some different angles, but I'm going to go with a more classic. I've got a really cool thing. I'm going to send you a picture of my backdrop.
Ooh, wow, exciting.
Oh yes. And by the way, I will make sure that I'm actually wearing the drape this time.
I don't know what to say.
That's all right. Listen, you guys have to also realize that you're peering in on a conversation with two people that have posed for new modeling before.
Who have what? You said you wouldn't say that. Actually,
I didn't say that. What are you talking about?
Actually, when I was doing my singing career back in the 70s, I had a picture taken of me by a newspaper, which they kind of touched up and really made me much more revealed than I actually was.
Yeah.
And my father went berserk.
You know what? You're an incredibly modest person. Let's get that out of the way. I'm saying it purely in jest, but and if you guys think that I'm a subject for new drawings, I'm just here to tell you, get your money back from that university you sent your kid to. But on the flip side of this, it's kind of, the reason why I'm joking like this is because also Saturn will make you kind of do things that you normally wouldn't have done. That's really where my joke is going, because you begin to kind of realize like your structure is kind of undone. And it's like, this is when you might, if you're really feeling these effects, you're going to throw the caution into the wind. Actually, a stabilizing factor is that it's an Aquarius, because you won't do it just to do it. You'll have a bigger purpose. It might be dreamy. It might be out there. It might be because of a friend. It might be because you feel like it's the best thing to do and you want to make a change. But, you know, you've really got this dynamic here where that energy is going to be affected strong. And with,
you know, if you think about it with, say, my dad being angry because this photograph was too revealing, Saturn can be father. So it's like Saturn coming down, the heavy hand of my father saying, no, I'm not having my daughter portrayed like this.
Wow.
And I mean,
wow.
you know, we are talking about the late 70s and early 80s. And
oh, yeah. I mean,
it wasn't.
Benny Hill was racy. Benny Hill was racy.
I met him. I had tea with him.
Of course you did. And you met Mick Jagger. I know your story, son.
No, I didn't meet Mick. I met Cliff Richard. But
Moses met Keith Richards. How'd you meet Keith Richard?
No, Cliff Richard, not Keith Richard. Keith Richards. Cliff Richard is that, you know, English kind of clean kind of singer guy, you know, who was.
I know who you're talking about now. It's just funny. I'm sitting here thinking that you're get out of the back of a bus, and meanwhile you're like, no, I was at a cabaret. Like, that's not.
I did meet the whole of the Deep Purple band.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Now I'm listening.
I had supper with them several times at restaurants round about wherever it was they were living in the UK.
That's awesome. Good, really good guys, right?
Oh, they're fabulous.
Yeah,
they were really cool guys.
They were really in it for the music, and you know, that's, you know, the creative stuff that I'm going to have. Which, by the way, thank you for being a segue for a new podcast I'm going to launch, where I'm going to meet creative types and, you know, talk about intuition and creativity. I'm going to talk about how people use their intuition every day. You know, you and I are going to keep this show going because it's amazing. I just know, like, you and I could talk about singers, songwriters, dancers, that sort of thing all day, but and then afterwards we go, can we talk more astrology, which we're about to get back to, but I'm really excited about it. It's part of the reason why I'm changing the set and, you know, all that stuff. And I'm so excited. And we're beginning to get into focus, the next step for Penny and I, with some dates of some things very soon. So hang on to that. So back on the retrogrades. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. I'm very excited, Brandon. Let me ask you what you think of my short heads ups.
Your who?
My heads up shorts. My little short videos.
Oh gosh, I love them. And this is what I like about them. You know, we're beginning to, you know, it's funny. Penny and I are like supporting each other, you know, behind the scenes and business wise. And I've shared a little glimpse of this, but one of the things I really like is how people digest stuff. And like, even like these videos are like 45 minutes. We got to go, you know, that's why Penny goes, we're at 20 minutes here. But it's, but I think they're really good and they're really informative, and just how you describe things, you know, you're keeping the audience and you're keeping it going. That 5 to 8 minute video is everything sometimes, because sometimes you're just like, okay, just tell me about Saturn. Just tell me about, you know, whatever. You know, and the shorter stuff is where it's at. The long play is also good. People want to hear it in the background. So there's always kind of space for this. So it's finding those things. And whereas with the podcast, that's where I'm kind of looking to be just, hey, sometimes I just talk. And sometimes that's where the magic is for me. And
I can't imagine you find that very easy to just talk.
You have seen my chart, which, by the way, we're also going to tease. Penny and I are filming a special. We're going to make it a special of her and I reading one another's charts, and we're going to go back and forth and look at our comparisons and figure out.
Then we can look at some retrogrades.
Why we can. I know my retrograde placements are they're kind of key. They're kind of key to my goofiness, right? But yeah. But when you, well, speaking of which, you know, when you look at retrogrades and natal charts, how do they speak to you differently than, say, in transit?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think with the outer planets, it's about lessons that have to be learned. So if you've
past life work, right?
Yes. If you've got Saturn retrograde in your natal chart, then I think this life is going to be bringing in issues that quite core issues to do with, say, structure and how hardworking you are, how you deal with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you're being given an opportunity to perhaps in this life actually get it right. The problem is, of course, when you're growing up, you know, which can take forever.
Yeah.
And some of us never get there.
So you're getting to know me.
But, you know, Saturn being, say, retrograde in your natal chart, it can feel like it takes forever to learn whatever life's lessons are. So that, and the thing is with Saturn, is that whatever you don't work with on an inner level, Saturn will keep bringing up the events, outside events, dramatic events, to force you to go within. Because until it's like, for instance, when Saturn was, I've got Saturn retrograde in my chart.
Yeah, yeah. Because you know I'm pulling it up right now, right?
Oh God. But when Saturn was in my 6th house, Capricorn,
yeah,
which was only a few years, well, 2-3 years ago, I broke my ankle. And
oh, no.
That actually was the kind of start of recognizing that I needed to listen more to what the universe was telling me, because I wasn't. And yet I'll tell you this story because it is quite funny. The morning on the day that I broke my ankle, I actually said to the universe, because I'd been thinking I was selling my house here in Gozo and I was going to move back to the UK, and I wanted to go to Edinburgh in Scotland. I just had a real fancy for that. So I said,
what was his name? Stop. What was his name?
Not telling you.
I read people for a living.
I said to the universe, if I'm meant to go back to the UK and go to Edinburgh, show me a sign. That afternoon, I was literally just walking across my bedroom, and I'd been doing some clearing out in preparation for the house to sell. And in a like nanosecond, it actually felt like something pushed me from behind, and I fell on the floor and I heard my ankle go snap, snap. Sorry for the graphics, and I sat there with this very floppy ankle, and I sat there and I thought, well, there's my answer, because I won't be going anywhere for a good few months, because I'd broken my leg before, another Saturn transit.
Really?
And yeah. So I thought, well, and this time round, although Saturn is no longer in my 6th house, Saturn is making a very hard square to my natal sun and also to my natal Saturn. So I'm thinking, ho, 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 you're not going to get me this time. So what I'm doing is really working hard, literally physically working hard on myself, working hard on my inner self. I still have.
You're also, you're also, not to interrupt you here, but your Saturn is actually in opposition of Pluto. And it's funny, both Pluto is also in retrograde right now. So how do you feel that the retrogrades play on each other?
Yeah, no, my Saturn isn't opposite Pluto in retrograde.
It's not?
No.
No, not in your natal.
My Saturn's in the 4th house in Scorpio.
Okay, gotcha. But how do you see retrogrades playing off of one another? You know, we're coming out of the Mercury one and then going into the Saturn. I mean, I always look at it like a tarot deck, which, by the way, we'll pull some cards here before we're done. Where it tells a story. So it's like Mercury's like, okay, get your communications up, take a look at what you need to really kind of focus in on. And then Saturn goes retrograde. It's like, okay, take a look at the projects that you didn't complete, the things of the bigger sources and blah, blah, blah. So to me, it's almost like in translation where it's like Mercury is about your technique. Mercury might be about your tactics. And then Saturn's really about your execution. And again, whether it's taking a look at your home life, your love life, your work life, whatever, you're really preparing for this. And then, by the way, don't forget, we have the great activator that happened in the lunar eclipse. So the story that's being told is you got a wake-up call. You had to take a look at how you personally did it. Now you've got a bigger thing. And oh, by the way, as we go pummeling towards the age of Aquarius, this Saturn in retrograde in Aquarius is really kind of like, are you guys like ready? Are you prepared for whatever your belief system is? A second coming, a great awakening, the shift. I will tell you, in the spring, a lot of the conversation around here, we all felt it. There was just a cosmic shift. And I think it was predicated by the great juncture of Jupiter and Saturn at the end of 2020. I think it's been like this clock tick of moving us towards this kind of enlightenment. But how it affects us personally is how we take on personal responsibility. So, and now you've got Neptune that's going to go retrograde later on in the month.
Yeah,
How do you think that's going to combine with, say, Saturn?
I don't think they actually make any particular aspect unless it's by sextile, but I don't know. I don't think they do. But I think Neptune will make an aspect to Pluto at some point.
Yeah, and it's in Pisces. It's in Pisces, so it's in natural water. So
Neptune is going to go back over the point where it was conjunct Jupiter.
Okay.
So that sort of reactivates that kind of energy. And of course, Jupiter is going to go retrograde in Aries. I can't remember the date. I can find out in a minute.
I think it is later this month. I'll look it up right here, because I get fascinated by, it is impossible to remember everything.
Yeah, we're going to have Neptune, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, all retrograde. And Uranus also goes retrograde. And I think that was in August.
That is in August, and
Yes,
Jupiter goes retrograde
yes.
July, at the end of July, and that'll be in Aries. What's interesting, there is a Jupiter semi-square on the summer solstice in Aquarius. So Jupiter's in Aries, Saturn's in Aquarius. 38 and 38. Wow. That's going to be, I think that's, and by the way, that's also another special we're going to be doing, where we take a look at the Pluto returns for the United States.
Yes, which comes up in July.
Right. And you can argue whether it's the 2nd or the 4th, it doesn't matter, because you've got all of the same energy kind of happening that week.
Yeah.
I think that and I don't get into a lot of the semi-trine, semi-sextile, that sort of thing, but I think it's significant when it's Jupiter and Saturn when it comes at a time like this. So there's a gentle energy of like great change to me. Like, I think they're going to kind of do some coupling, and I think we're going to see some of this, but the retrograde's important because it needed to get back into position. And that's the thing that I think that we kind of get scared of with retrogrades, because Mercury gives it kind of a bad name, rightfully so. But yeah, yeah.
But I think, Brandon, that retrogrades give us a chance to breathe. So, including Mercury retrograde. So we actually get a chance to just take our foot off the accelerator a bit. My God, we can't all keep going like express trains at everything. We need to actually kind of, just take it easy sometimes. And
speak for yourself.
Yes. Regroup, withdraw, regroup.
Yeah, I'm going to have a little bit of that. I need it in the summer. I always take time with the boys and, do family stuff. And, for me, I've really looked at this, like, I'm going to get very planned so that I can work a, 6-hour day. It might be 6 days a week, but I'm going to work a 6-hour day and then have the rest of the day planned, for fun and activities and just some personal time. I've neglected personal time for a really long time. And it's starting to bite me in the ass a little bit. I don't recover well. I don't, I don't rest. Are you happy that I see this epiphany in myself?
I think it's brilliant, actually.
Well, and it's real.
When we do each other's charts, I think there'll be a lot more that comes out around this whole topic.
What you mean for me, or you think people in general?
No, I think for you, but I think for people in general, it's recognizing that retrogrades give us a chance to breathe.
Oh God, yeah. Because you're right. You're right. Well, and again, I think it's about when you sit down with your chart and you start to strategize this stuff. There's a lot of tools out there that you can be at a minimum. You haven't made it this far in the video if you are not at least an amateur astrologist. If you just find it's entertaining, thank you. But if when you sit down with your chart, first of all, there's nothing bad that's coming out of it. There may be parts that you go, this is really heavy. My Mars and Venus are square right now, and I'm having trouble at home. Well, guess what? Time to blow some stuff up. But by and large, though, there's still purpose in you blowing it up. We talk about all of these kind of feel good, quotes like, I'm cleaning house so I can make it ready. What I'm losing is making room for something better, and all that other stuff. That is basically what astrology is. Astrology is all those feel good things like, I have confidence in myself. I know I'm imperfect, but I'm going to go about it anyways. How more astrological can you be than that? Like, we're all kind of damaged goods coming into this, right?
And the thing is, astrology, hence my little short videos, it actually gives us the heads up. It says, hey, look, at the moment, this and this is happening in your sixth house. This is a time to actually look at your physical well-being, make those doctor's appointments, do all of that, get all of that stuff addressed, so which is where I think astrology can be so super useful, because if we can use it on a day-to-day basis, looking at the energies for one's own chart, and obviously the general horoscopes that one can read are so general, but of course what people often forget is that they need to look at their rising sign, because if they actually, forget you're a Sun Taurus or whatever, look at your rising sign of Leo, because that's going to give you the house delineation.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Listening to the videos that we do and other astrologers do, the ascendant, the rising sign gives you all the information that you need. And that's more likely to resonate than the sun sign.
Yeah, and that's something that I've kind of, it actually got me on the crusade to talk about astrology regularly, because I would have people say, well, I'm a Taurus, but I don't feel like a Taurus. Well, yeah, because you haven't done the work. You just read the first chapter. You don't know the whole story. A very important chapter, the primer chapter, the chapter you're going to go back to when you're at rest and, so forth and so on, and you need to pull out tools for longevity. But to get there, you need to figure out the spearhead. I've talked to other astrologers about this, and it's the old debate of having your date of birth correct. And, there's so many factors to that. A lot of people like to pull up the document and it says, ba, 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 and then you're like, okay, AM or PM, you get it all set. Then there are the people that are just like, it's just the place where I was born just says here, but legend has it, my mom said I woke up before the sun came up, and before noon, you were here. And then I'll say, can we use 11 o'clock? Yeah, that sounds about right. And the reason being is because of the effects of the houses, and because of the effects of what have you. I was really frustrated with Amber Heard never publishing her date of birth, who, by the way, there's something, that in lifetime, that case came down and she was awarded 2 million, he was awarded 10 million. None of it is worth the amount of embarrassment that they just went through. None of it. And they both lost. But there's something else, and I know that that's not what our conversation is. There's something else about Amber Heard that I think is going to drop, that people are going to go like, oh, that's what's going on. Like, she's going to fade from the news. 6 months later, she's going to show up with her head shaved, a bottle of booze, and like 2 guys hanging out of her. And she, and they'll be like, we should have seen the warning signs. If I was in Amber Heard's camp right now, I would say, you need some healing. You need to go someplace where nobody knows you. Forget about your career. You don't have one right now. You need to heal. You need to re-strategize this. You need 6 months on a deserted island with no newspaper and Wi-Fi. Just go. Just be yourself. Eat star fruit every day and heal. And Johnny, as much as everybody came to his defense as a good guy, they also showed the cosmic flaw of being a good guy. I can speak to this, where you're a good guy and then you're like, did I hurt somebody unintentionally? Why did I allow that person into my camp? Why did I allow that conversation to happen? Yeah, I acted that way. Why would I say that? Because you're in the moment, you're upset. Why, how can I never be in that position again? I really hope this dies on the vine, but they both need some serious healing. And it's not addictions. Listen, you can love your drink and your drug for years and never be quote addicted. You make it routine. He's trying to live a lifestyle. He has to recognize why he needs that lifestyle. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe during the Saturn retro. And by the way, the timing of this is perfect. Mercury retrograde is ending.
Correct. Tomorrow.
Saturn retrograde's coming in.
Saturday. Yeah.
They've got to take a look at it that way.
Mm.
So listen, what's your technique with tarot and astrology? I mean, I actually have a class coming up that's that is the art and science of tarot. That is a really cool way where we talk about all the definitions. You get a great booklet on it. And then we talk about the interpretation, how to actually get good at reading cards and how you work in your intuition. I actually have a bunch of exercises to it.
Your videos where you incorporate the tarot and the astrology, I think are really super cool. I like them very much.
Well, they kind of go hand in hand, and you know, without getting ostentatious about this, I love that word, by the way, ostentatious. It reminds me of a woman I knew in Gozo. So the tarot card was really created, the major arcana anyways, was really created by the astrological chart, you know, right down from, you know, the major arcana really represents sun signs and, you know, and what have you. And then when you get to the minor arcana, when it equals the earth, wind, the earth, air, fire, water elements, the lovers, are you kidding me? So that was original.
I've literally shuffled them and I thought, right, I thought to myself, I'll just pull a card for now. And that's what's come up.
You know what I'm going to give to you?
What? Listen, we'll get censored. What are the words on that? What
it is the Ace of Wands.
Oh, right. Okay.
And this is the Gilded Tarot. I actually have a Amazon site that I'll post on my stuff where you can have this. I'm going to show you how to do that so you can get some side revenue from it, you know, when we pitch it on videos. But what's interesting.
Can I just interpret what we've just seen? Because actually, joking aside, I think it's about the collaboration we are making on this kind of professional level. And so, because the Ace of Wands, the Ace of Wands is something in front of my screen. It's a little insect. The Ace of Wands is about work and business, amongst other things.
Oh, it really is. And it's about the new idea of it and spearheading it and that sort of thing. And your connection with the Lover's card is really a collaboration. You know, it's a Gemini card, first and foremost. And the way that that's really kind of designed is in like, I can be the opposite of this. It's kind of how we work. You know, I'll be the male energy, you be the female energy, you represent Europe, I'll represent the US. And it hits the marketplaces really well. And what's interesting about the Lover's card is that it was actually the choice card. And then when you compare it to the Devil card, and again, it's a little bit different in other types of decks. And this one here being the Gilded Tarot, I like it because they're just beautiful.
The Rider-Waite, which I'm sure most people are probably familiar with who know the tarot. Yeah. I like the Rider-Waite. I've had these cards since I was about 18.
Yeah, I have these huge ones. They're like the size of my head. Go big or go home, my dear. Yeah, it's funny. I have some of my, you know, some of my early stuff where I had a deck when I was 15, 16, and it ended up getting water damage, so I don't use them regularly, but it was a lesson for me to be like, oh, you got to take care of these guys. But in the source of duality that we were talking about there, and yes, I'm trying to pull up the Devil card. In duality, it was to represent where the choice card, the Lover's card, was about free will and happiness. Hold up that card again.
Oh, which one? The Lovers?
Yeah, the Lovers.
Just as I've lost it.
Oh, okay. Well, don't worry about it. Well, let me show you the Devil card, and where the choice card was about free will. Well, the Devil card is really about bondage. It's about the human bondage. I have a good friend of mine, actually, Mike Rossi, and we've collaborated a lot. He has this Arthurian deck, you know, so it's all about King Arthur and Maid Marian. It's all, you know, Maid Marian's the Empress, so forth and so on. It's a beautiful deck. And the Devil card is actually the Green Man, which was the legend of, you know, King Arthur and the temptation of life, where he the legend of it was basically like, listen, I'm going to challenge you to a duel, and if I win, then I get to take your soul. I get to own you. And he's pictured with him holding his own head, and you're like, gee, how is that the devil card? Well, the legend is that when he lost, this green man said, hey, listen, you have 1 year to get your affairs in order, and I'm coming for you. Well, he was bound to the idea that he was captured by this person and stuck in bondage. So that, and that's an Arthurian legend. And with the devil card, and again, a Capricorn card, hello, why shouldn't we talk about this? The devil card is really about the carnal bondage, not just the physical carnage, but what we have here on earth. It's our obligations, it's our debt, it's our, requirements. So why are you pulling up the 4? All right.
Well, I tell you what, this time I asked, what would the Saturn retrograde mean for the collective? And you know what I think this means? It's saying, let go. Stop worrying about the fact that we've got inflation worldwide, that money is getting tight for a lot of people. This is saying, let go, let it go, and trust. It's like, to me, the sort of the hidden side of this card is about having faith.
And by the way, do you know the timing of this is actually, we just passed it. It's late Taurus. So it's an earth sign, right? Because it's pentacles, right? And you go 2, 3, 4. So it was actually when the Mercury retrograde began. So the 4 of Pentacles represents that. And traditionally, right side up, that is about, holding on to things. So you're saying that the retrograde is really about letting it go. How about if are you kidding me? I can't make this up. This is the next card in my deck. The devil. Here we go.
Wow.
Yeah. So what is the same for you and I? Listen, I just picked one at random. I just said, hey, here you go. And again, this one, instead of having them chained, they're kind of like dancing to his whim, type of thing. And what's interesting, when you start to combine the numerology, which is really important in tarot, is it is a 15, which is really a 6, which is a new beginning, but you have to kind of go through the fire in order to kind of realize this. Good news is that you have longevity behind it. So what's your next question? And let's just both pull a card on it and we'll do a read on it. And how are we doing on time? Don't let me talk forever.
No, it's okay. I think we could go for another 20 minutes.
I can go for another 20 minutes.
You're so naughty.
I'm awful. I really am. Mars in Capricorn, it says something for me, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In my 8th house, no less. Actually, it's in my 5th house. Oh.
What have you got? And what have you asked?
Well, here I am talking to you about slowing my roll and everything, and I pull out Temperance.
Oh, well, there you go.
And how somebody, Spirit's kind of like, will you freaking chill out? Will you relax? She's on the other side of the world. Quit swimming. Quit thinking about swimming there.
Yeah. I'm just going to pull a card for the collective for June. Okay.
Collective for June. Okay. Let me do it. So an overall for June. How about if we go 3 cards on this?
Oh, okay. Well, I've got that one. And I've got that one.
Oh. I see a Pisces in your future.
That one. I think that's actually quite
interesting. So you're seeing this as a very high time. This is a very collective time of it. So whenever you see the minor arcana, that's usually where the work is. When you see the royalty court of the minor arcana, that's where you're really kind of like, you're drawn to, like, you have to do this for the greater good, and things are really kind of contained to this. And then of course you see the major arcana, and you see the connection between kind of the soul plan, the universal language, the archetypes, if you will. So here's my pull on this. Ace of Cups. Cups are wild today. 3 of Pentacles, that's the work, right?
Yeah, that is.
And then the King of Cups. So the King of Cups are here, everybody. Wow, cups are wild.
The King of Cups, it can often be about, I think this is to do with the Neptune retrograde.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely.
And that we might all feel a bit ungrounded at times, because there's a sort of, you know, there's extraordinary energies have been around for the last 2 to 3 years astrologically. And I think it's really been quite tough for a lot of people, because it's very much been a time where if you don't let go and go with the flow of the way things are going, you know, if you're standing fast against it, you really suffer. And I mean, that I think goes for any time of life in that sense. But what with the pandemic, now we've got all this, you know, unrest in Europe and other things that we've discussed in previous videos. We have to go with, we have to have some faith and trust. And
I really like this, because I love that you're bringing up the Neptune angle, because the King of Cups at set, you know, the kings are the masculine energy, right? The cups are the feminine energy. So this is masculinity managing feminine energy. This is the doer with the nurturer, right? So it's kind of like, this is definitely a card of action. This is definitely, and Neptune makes you act, whether you realize it or not. Neptune's one of those like sneaky kind of like, hey, you know, I'll just kind of do this over here. And then you don't even realize that they're the one. Neptune is the planet that shows up and just hits play on the playlist and knows you're going to start tapping your foot. That's the subtlety of that change, but the direct part of it where you can't help yourself, right? You get that earworm in and you hear that song forever.
So how do you see this one? Because I see it as, actually, we need to be a bit more kind to ourselves.
100%.
I think we need to kind of take ourselves out of ourselves and just kind of enjoy, you know, in the Northern Hemisphere, we're in the summer, we're coming into summer. So in the Northern Hemisphere, enjoy the summer.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's almost like eat, drink and be merry, because, you know, we haven't had much chance over the last couple of years to just sit back and really relax.
Well, and let me hang on that for a second, because you have the mature masculine and then you have the immature masculine. So it's kind of like, maybe we're learning to love one another. It's also self-love. There's self-love in this too. So you've already kind of done this work, whatever whatever the eclipses have given you, whatever the retrograde in Mercury has given you, whatever the Saturn is saying, okay, it's cleanup time. You've got to remember to go gentle on yourself. And by the way, the King of Cups is incredibly charming. It's actually a very easy energy. The King of Cups is kind of like, you know, the dad that comes in and says, you know, I've never really said this before, but I love you, and turns around and walks out. And you're like, did you just tell me you love me? And then they're like, did you hear me? Yeah, well, good, because I'm never going to say it again.
This is like telling ourselves that we're okay, we've done okay. You know, all of us, you know, are struggling with lots of different issues, and the people that have struggled the most are the ones that have fought against the current.
It's been horrible.
Everything, and that's been really tough for so many people. And this is about saying, look, you're here. We are here. We have got here.
And it's interesting that I've got the Ace of Cups here, where the Ace of Cups is really kind of about love wins. You know, love, you know, this is about your cycle. You know, in this card, it's, you know, it's got the moons in here. It's got the fish of abundance. This is about the cup runneth over. You really are in a good spot. So you're right. You've done the work, now kind of sharing the reward, and it's a love part of it. And then you pull in the Hierophant.
Yeah. Well, this, of course, actually, I just want to finish with this one first of all, before I go into the Hierophant. This can be a proposition. Come
on. Like any of the knights are trying to get laid. You know that, right? You know, the king is all held back because they have a concubine. It's all good, right? And by the way, the queens have an undying confidence because they know they have, you know, they have a squadron of servants they can pull from. The knight is trying to get laid. The page is trying to get hard to get. Don't ask me why there's 3 males and 1 female in that, but you'll figure it out.
And this is the wisdom we gain from slowing down, relaxing, and going with the flow. So this is the wisdom that can come from respecting and honoring the big outer planets in retrograde.
I'm gonna go, you know, with my take on this, with that, I can see that. I also think that it's also about recognizing what's around you and what's been true and what's been loyal. You know, what if you've done people right, one of the most difficult things I've had moving from like the corporate world 12, 15 years ago to this work is how cutthroat it is. Like, I'm just shocked when like mediums talk shit about you, and even if they just have a shred of truth. I think that Hierophant comes out to say like your tribe matters. Your tribe matters. And I've got the 3 of Pentacles here, which is that work behind the scenes. Right? This is that work of like, and by the way, it backs up that 4 of Pentacles, where this was actually when the retrograde happened for Mercury, right?
Yeah.
So this is work. This represents a lot of self-work, a lot of self-reflection. And then when you blow it out to like countries and world events, and whether we're talking about
Oh, shall we draw a card for Putin, Zelensky, and see what comes up?
Holy shit. You really want to make this channel blow up, don't you?
I'm going to do Putin first.
Or do you want to do Zelensky and I'll do Putin? Or
no, I'm already thinking about Putin.
All right, let her rip. Let her rip. I don't want to take that sunshine from you. So Putin. Fuck, did you really? I just swore. We just got a PG-13 rating. Are you fucking kidding me? So he does not serve his masters. He serves his masters. He is not a free man. That tortured bitch.
My God. I mean, I think that's really, if we take this for him on a personal level, he's got to face his own demons, because what he's caught into at the moment is a kind of self-gratification and somehow some sort of grandiosement that he's trying to achieve.
100%.
And he's not facing his own demons.
It's also the puppet master card. Don't forget it. I didn't say that before. It's the puppet master. It's you trying to say like, let me be in control of this. Well, this is my first card up, and it's in reverse. It's Ace of Pentacles. His resources are running low. This is, yeah, and Pentacles to me represents. By the way, we're going to call this tarot time. We're going to do this.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of like it. And this Pentacles, a lot of people confuse with money, that it only means money. Well, it actually means abundance of resources, right? So had it been upright, it would have been like he's got his house in order, shit's coming together, he's looking out for his best interest. Now I'm swearing. Now that you got me like Putin, like get me on this topic, and I swear like a trucker. So the Ace of Pentacles upside down could signify he's running out of supplies, he's running out of support, he's running out of time. There's a lot of this. And people accuse me of being anti-Putin. I'm anti the guy that bombs kids. Just hear me out, right? I'm noticing your technique. I pulled all 3 of my cards. Did you just want to do one card, or are you going to do multiple?
I just did one card for Putin.
Okay, because let me show you the other 2 cards that I pulled for him. Page of Pentacles. We were just talking about the pages and how it's feminine energy. Its pages are immature with their energy, and this is the resources. So whatever he's getting, he's being very kind of immature about this.
He's behaving like a child.
He's a fucking child. Excuse my French.
It's like a tantrum. It's like a temper tantrum. And
how about the sun upside down?
Oh,
yeah, things are closing in on him. They really are. And dare I say, I don't want to say he's running out of time. I'm not.
Do you know that with that card, the sun, it's reminded me of the story of Icarus.
Yes, do tell. I love Greek stuff.
Who flew too close.
And he's going to tell a story. I love it. I love it. I say it mockingly, but I really love this stuff. So Icarus
had he was given the gift of flight by having, I can't remember the story exactly, but he had lots of wings that were put with like candle wax on and stuck on his arms so he could soar up to heaven.
Yeah, do you remember how
behind it? But I'd have to.
Yeah, do you remember the combination with the Roman and the Greek part of it? Mercury got involved because his wings were never burnt.
Well, Icarus, of course, he's told you can fly, but never fly too close to the sun.
Yep.
And what does he do? He goes, "This is great! Whoa, I love all of this." And he goes too close to the sun. All his wings fall off because they melt, and he dies.
Right. And then Mercury shows up and says, told you.
Mercury direct.
Totally, completely. So how about Zelensky?
Oh, right. Should we do Zelensky?
I'm going to do three cards.
that.
I'm going to do three cards. I like to be even.
I'm just going to do one. You do the
That's
three.
all right
I'm
with
going to
that.
do the one. I'm going to do one for Zelensky.
I'm getting a lot of communication stuff with it. Ha 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 ha.
Oh no!
Oh yeah. He's got the bigger dick. Anyway, so he's
Well, we know that he has to have.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Like that guy is all balls.
he's going to be okay.
He's going to be all right. Great unity again.
He's going to be okay.
Oh, and then the Knight of Pentacles. So don't be surprised if he comes up with a new idea. He's the one that brings it to the table and says, this is an agreement for you.
Right. And that could happen when Mercury goes direct, especially while it's in its shadow phase up until the 18th, 19th of June.
Treaty of Versailles. So the Three of Wands here, right? Three of Wands, it's actually an Aries card. It's a huge actionable card. The ship is coming in. The Three Wands to me represents what you know in the back, you know, the stuff that you've learned, the current position, which is a little bit lower, you'll see, and then holding your fate in your hand with the direction you want to go in. I actually think Zelensky's got him right where he wants him. It sounds weird to say that, but
yeah, but I wonder whether what Zelensky will do is seek some kind of compromise.
that's a definite. This to me is I'm going to be firm, but we're going to get this done. This is the pony that finishes the race. You'll see a lot of tarot people say this is the one that's strong, true offer to come through.
Yeah.
Between you, me, and the fence post, Zelensky is going to get his country back on his feet, and then Ukraine will be the aggressor someday. I'm just telling you. Do you realize that Russia has invaded Ukraine 32 times at various times in history? They were actually the scapegoat of World War II involvement. Like Ukraine has been, for lack of better terms, Russia's bitch for the millennia. Ukraine was like, listen, this is good. This is at peace. If there is one thing that this war has taught them is to say, we have to wear the pants in this relationship. This is wearing the pants in the relationship. It's new. It's a little more immature, but it's consistent, right? I'm going to call my shot with this. I actually think people in Russia are going to not only get educated with what has gone on, but they're going to look to Ukraine as the big brother. Not ruled by Ukraine. I'm not going to go that far. But, and also there's something to be said here for the water. I mean, the water is the main reason why this war is broken out.
Yeah, because he wants a seaport.
What an asshole. Does he not have Crimea? Listen, Crimea rolled over because they don't have the resources. You know, I mean, what was the population of Crimea when he invaded it? I mean, barely 1 million, barely. And it was sparsed out over the state of Rhode Island size. Like, this tells me that I really just get the feeling that he's going to regroup and he's going to let his kind of country build back up. Yeah, they might have a portion of it. Yeah, they might have agreement.
What are you looking at now?
I think the holidays are going to be a very big thing.
The holidays? What holiday? Which holidays?
Like Christmas, the end of the year.
Uh-huh. Well, that also will fit in with the third Pluto return.
Really? Because they're showing me the end of the year for Putin's challenge.
Because I do feel America is closely linked with what's happening in Europe.
I do too. And I think that he's going to, I mean, listen, back on my spread here, he's losing his supporters. You know, I think that everybody's just kind of like, yeah, you know, in friendships, you have a gimme, right? You have that one chance to be just a complete jerk, you know, be a jackass, take advantage of somebody, say, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I missed that thing I told you I was going to be at. Like we all have that gimme, right? Most of the time it's by accident, but in this case, It's Putin going, did I just invade a country? I'm so sorry, everybody. And they're just like, they roll their eyes and then they're like, oh, Vlad, which I know you are all going to correct me with saying, oh, Vlad, but don't you also kind of recognize that like he is spent, it's a resource. He has spent all of the goodwill that he's had in the world and any of the power and the dominant and controls and that sort of thing. I mean, that for a country of Russia's size, they're so sparse. And let me tell you, I'm not predicting anything here, but I'm just going to play Risk in real time, that game board Risk. You could take over Kamachka in 2 seconds, China. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't take a lot to take over 80% of that country without merit, you know? And I think that's the thing that Putin really has misguided himself on. And now you have Finland saying, screw you. You have Sweden saying, screw you. You have these traditional Northern Hemisphere allies that are just saying enough, you know, and right now, basically, isn't it the only country that's even remotely working with them at all is Austria?
I don't think so. That's not what I understood.
Well, Austria's been sitting down with them.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean anything. I mean, they could just want to be at the negotiating.
You know what the UK has been doing kind of quietly?
Yeah.
Moving all their tanks, a huge amount of forces into Europe, and especially into Poland for exercises. I hope that's not classified information. I'm sure I heard it somewhere, but I did see it on the news actually. But it's in small print at the bottom, you know.
Yeah, it's not the headline.
Has spent quite a big chunk of metal into Poland and into other parts of Europe for exercises.
You know, I did a reading for a woman she was in Poland. It wasn't Zagreb. It was a Z name for the city. Anyway, one of the things that she brought up is that the nationalism in Poland right now isn't pro-Poland. It's anti whatever Russia's doing. And she said, we're really realizing that the rest of the world really has our back. And she volunteered for one of the humanitarian aids. These are my clients, by the way. She volunteered to just help refugees. And she said, I just have she's like, I have a 1-bedroom apartment. I couldn't open it up. But she was going to what was, for lack of better terms, like a firehouse. Like here in the US, we call it firehouse rescue stuff. And it was a community center. It was an old school that actually closed down 3 or 4 years ago, but they maintained it as like a social club and community, whatever. And they just turned it into a refugee overnight. And they had, 75 people living in it, like in a matter of a week. And she goes down there and she volunteers and she's gotten to know the people. And she was really surprised that, there were a lot of Ukrainians, but most of the Ukrainians had actually been through this before.
Yeah.
That was the part that like stuck with me. And I went, ooh.
Yeah. And I think, the sort of current generations have kind of lost awareness of that because it's not really in our kind of conscious kind of culture awareness. I vaguely remember Crimea, but I don't really know much.
Crimea took a month and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a flip of the calendar.
Yeah.
It was a flip of the calendar, and it wasn't even, and everybody just kind of went, oh, Crimea. And they're just like, they've done us wrong. And they're like, really? Like, really? Okay, fine, Vlad. Just, Mr. Putin, if that's what keeps you satisfied, great. Leave Ukraine alone. I think there's a lot of comeuppance coming into this. So listen, I'm going to do a card pull for you.
Oh, okay. Then I'll do one for you. Then we've reached our kind of boundary.
I know. It's like, it's like I'm a musician and I'm a drummer and I know my timing. All right, love, are you ready? This is about you until the next time we meet. Fair enough? Okay, here we go. How about the Queen Empress?
Oh.
The Queen of Malta, followed by the Magician, followed by the old High Priestess. The
Oh,
High
wow.
Priestess, actually, it's the B and the J in that is not what you think. Down. It's Boaz and Joachim, which is
That's
the
right.
keeper,
I know that.
the
I know
keeper
that.
of the old knowledge. So you know what this tells me? Here's a little you, here's a little me, here is our past life coming back. We knew there was something, kid.
Yeah, I know.
You
I
know,
know.
like it's a, you know, and as much as we kind of like rib each other, believe it or not, we really are on the up and up. Everybody calm down. But you know, it's that connection of like, hey, let's get together in this life and do something cool. That's what that spread was.
Yeah.
How cool was that?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, your father just
Right.
showed up. This is your
What?
dad. Your dad just showed up. He's not happy about anything. Oh my gosh, and you make me work in a field. You know, 10 of swords, 10 of
No.
wands. Oh my gosh, that's the burden of your past life. That's your dad. But then there's the sun. There you are, you beautiful
That's all right.
sunshine.
Everything
I can
comes
read
out
cards
all
all
right.
day.
Right. Would you
We
like
bring each other balance. All right, go ahead. You go now.
this is cold. Right. I bring you in from the cold.
Oh, is that what that is? I
Yeah.
call that card the little match girl, by the way.
Yeah. But it's like they can't see the light within. So my role is to bring you more into
Oh, I like that.
light.
Thank you for
And
that.
I will help you make money.
You know, but also the practical side of things. Thank you very much, Saturn. You're all about Saturn, right? You're all about foundation.
Oh, where
Strong offer. Have I not? Did we not just talk about a different thing for this?
Yeah. Yeah.
There it is,
Yeah.
kid.
Do you want another one?
You know I'm good for 4. You're welcome. So it's a leap of faith. It's something new.
It is a leap of faith. Yes.
I love it.
Yes, and this will be very interesting when we do the interpretation of our mutual charts.
Can't wait. We've got that on our schedule. We're going to let everybody know when that's going to premiere. We're going to premiere it at the same time. We're going to have a European time. We're going to have a US time. We're going to love it, everybody. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. All right, Penny, listen, thank you so much. I always enjoy our chats.
Back into my brand position. This is my brand. My brand.
Brand done.
Brand and look. Yes.
See what I'm saying? I tried to work that in.
Oh, you want to do this?
Yeah. Do you know where your heart is today? Because you were all over the place. You were giving yourself a mammo the other day. Jesus, what was that? You don't know where your heart is? 3 feet over your ass. All right, listen, we give each other the heart taps, so we tell one another we care and love for one another and to remind each other to keep going. All right, Penny, thank you again.
Thank you, Brandon, and thank you, everybody, for supporting us and all the fabulously wonderful comments.
Go be amazing.
Take care, everyone. Bye.